Hi, my name is Sasha Friedman. I'm a Senior Technical Product Manager for Global Accelerator. So today we're going to talk about how your game traffic gets from the computer or console of your players all the way to the game instances. So gamers are matched on the same session by a matchmaker, and they travel over the public internet. And this is without Global Accelerator. With Global Accelerator, all the players' traffic goes to the nearest edge location where it goes on to the Amazon global network. And then it is routed to that EC2 instance where your game server is actually running. So Global Accelerator is a networking service, and it improves the availability and performance of your applications. Every accelerator comes with two static IP addresses, and they act as the fixed entry point to applications in a single or multiple AWS regions. You get improved TCP performance for TCP and UDP performance for your traffic, and you can use application load balancers, network load balancers, or EC2 instances as the target. You have traffic failover in less than 30 seconds from detection of an unhealthy endpoint, and finally, you can move endpoints between availability zones and regions without having to change DNS configurations. And the magic that's powering all of this is the Amazon Global Network. It's a fiber optic backbone, and it's protected from DDoS attacks from AWS Shield. So I'm going to show you how to set up an accelerator and a few easy things that you can do with it. So first off, in the AWS Management Console, you can search for Global Accelerator, or you can look for us in the networking services. From here, you can create an accelerator and give it a name. Let's say GDC Demo. Next up is adding listeners, and listeners are the ports and protocols that your accelerator is listening on. So you can choose single ports, you can choose ranges, and both at the same time. A Global Accelerator works for TCP or UDP, and you can choose source IP, client affinity, or not. And you can have multiple listeners on the same accelerator. Next up is adding endpoint groups. An endpoint group gives you a way to separate various regions and find the endpoints that are in those regions. So for this example, let's choose US West 2, and you also have the option of having a traffic dial for what percentage of traffic is heading to this endpoint group. And there's health check options as well. For example, you can change the time interval, the protocol of your health checks, and the health check port. Next up is adding endpoints. So we have our listener here, we have our endpoint group, US West 2, and now we can look at our endpoints. You can choose application load balancers, network load balancers, EC2 instances, and elastic IP addresses. For application load balancers, you can either preserve client IP addresses or not. Network load balancers does not preserve that. EC2 instances preserve client IP addresses by default, and elastic IP addresses do not. So since we're talking gaming, let's talk about EC2 instances, and you can either choose them from a drop-down menu, or you can search for them, and you can also change the weight. So just like that, we create an accelerator, so let's examine it real quick. We have its name, the IP addresses that are with it. We have a DNS name that was created automatically. And we have the listeners. And so let's say that we want to add a second endpoint to our accelerator. We go to the listener, go to the endpoint group. And we can see our one endpoint here, and we click on adding a second. And so now let's say that we want to change our endpoint weight to 0. We can simply go here, change the weight to 0, And you can see now that all traffic is going to be heading to the second EC2 instance that we added. And so maybe that we set that to 0 because we wanted to take it out of service. We've patched it, and now we want to gradually bring it back in service. So we can just increment it back up in whatever increments we choose. We could give it a weight of 1. Only a little bit of traffic will be heading there. And we can bring that all the way up to 255. But now you see that we're actually imbalanced. We have more traffic going to 1 than the other. So let's bring that back down to 128. And so now they're both even again. So that is the brief summary of setting up Global Accelerator. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you have any other questions, please stop by the Ask the Experts section and speak with AWS technical experts. And for more details on Global Accelerator, check out the Resource Center. Thank you so much.